Started.
Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon to our guest. Um, our group members are Lillian, Dave, Amir, and Jill, and we're going to interview a team leader from the company called Deloitte. Now I'm going to handle the mic to Justo Sanz Valiente. He's our guest and he's going to give a brief explanation about what the company does, and also he's going to give a brief explanation about his role in the company, and then we're going to go for the general questions. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So as I was said, my name is Justo Sáenz Valiente. I work for Deloitte. That is a consulting firm. It does consulting in IT, accounting, financial, and other services. I've been working there almost 8 years in Argentina, in the Argentina branch. I my specific is SAP consulting, that is implementing the SAP system, that is a ERP, into different types of companies. Last almost 6 years working on production companies, implementing SAP there. Anything else that you want to know about me or Deloitte? More details?
So what's your specific role with regards to United States? I recall that you told me about that you have a specific role there. What are you right now doing in the US that it has relevant incidents on your job?
So I'm a manager in Argentina office, but since we are a global company, we give service to the US branch. So what they do is they subcontract us, so they can have the people that knows the business in different countries. And since we know English and Spanish, we can manage to go to Central America, the US, talk with the users that only speak Spanish, and we are maybe a little more complete than some other members. And of course, we have the advantage against India that we are in the same time zone. So what we do is we work with the US. We are not part of the US office, but we have been working with them a long time.
That's perfect. Really good insight for us. Now I will handle the mic to Amir. He's going to ask you all the questions from the interview. And then if someone else has any other question, we might go ahead depending on the time limit we have. Amir?
Hello. Sorry if there's some other sounds. A child is screaming, so I'll try to mute as much as I can to ensure that it doesn't disturb you. So hello, I am Amir. Nice to meet you. Okay, are we ready to start the interview?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so here is our first question to you. So, what constitutes the competitive advantages of the firm in its global business?
So, as I said before, we are a global company, so we can make sure that each client, regardless of where is the main branch is, they are located, we can get there, and we can get consultants there, and we can provide services there. We have offices in almost all the countries, so if and if not, we have a country that is near. So we are all over the world. Adding to that, we are one of the big four that, as you know, is one of the biggest companies of consulting. So that is our name. That's the brand in itself, and we always have been improving ourselves, doing research, adapting to new technologies, trying to be on top of the what's going on instead of just doing what we know. We try to get ahead of time and to those technologies. And again, our main goal as a company is the resources, so the people. We focus on training them, on making sure that they know what they're doing, and giving the customer, the client, the best experience that they can with the best people, the best people and the more knowledgeable people for that specific task. As I was saying, I'm working for the US because in production, I'm not only working, I have a 12 people team working for the US because as for now, we are the people that know about production. So they didn't care about if we are in Argentina. They move us there. We are having calls every day. So the client has the ideal people working on the project.
Thank you for elaborating on what you've done with Deloitte. So in a way you can. Oh, sorry. So in a way, you briefly said that your core competence as an organization is that you already are a global company, and you have you pretty much have availability to be consulted throughout the entire time as well.
Yeah, and regardless if the person that is the topic that is needed, we will have someone that can answer that question in another country maybe, and we will consult it, and you will get the answer either way.
And you mentioned earlier that another reason as to why that you have been successful. Is that since you work with the US, you're not part of the US, so you also work in the same time zone with them.
Yes.
And that leads up to you having a better competitive advantage towards India, as you said earlier.
Yeah. India at the same company level in my scenario, because I'm working with US, but if you have someone in the UK, for example, that's going to be better suited for someone in India. So that's what I'm saying, that depending on where are you working, we will have someone that can cover that. If you have a project, I don't know, in Russia, you will have someone in India that can support that, and I will support the night shift, for example. Now what we do is we have 24/7, in go live or during the implementations, we have 24/7 support for them.
Okay, thank you for explaining. So here is our next question. What complementary benefits can the firm obtain between the home market and the host market?
So that's the advantage. For example, for the US, what it has with us is that we are cheaper, but still competent. It's not that it's not just to have people, it's to have the right people. And so we do the same thing in Argentina. When I started, I worked in a project that we didn't have the correct resources to go ahead and deploy a good project for the client. So we brought people from Portugal. So it's depending on the necessities of the local market, what you can get from your resources. If now with the global, with internet and with all the technological resources that we can have someone from another country working for us, or we working for another country, and giving an extra to the local market that you weren't able to have it since it was in another place. Did that make sense for the home market? And
yes, it does perfectly. Thank you for explaining that. So to our next question, what are the key considerations when formulating global strategies?
What we focus is, in general, is the clients that we have. It's how we can support them. So as our client right now, it's huge and it has plants all over the world. So okay, we are creating a global strategy so we can start deploying each solution in each country. And that solution, what requires is a specific team that can deploy the solution physically and technologically into each client. So the global strategy is usually trying to get the big accounts that we know that we can do that support, that small firms cannot do because they are not as big as we are.
Thank you for explaining on that. That is very insightful on what you have done with the company. Okay, and next one we have another question. What immediate challenges does your company encounter in terms of access to Argentina?
Mainly the way that this is strange to say, but how we have the taxes, for example, that's really, we have an extra 30% if they use a credit card outside. Those kind of things are kind of difficult for US or a stable country to understand, that hey, I have a 30% extra and then a 35% extra, and you say like, what are you talking about? Like how that works? So those kind of things is kind of hard from both sides, from the US and from our side, that we have to explain those kind of things to the local country, the local market, or the home market, let's say. But from the other side, it's not so complex because we have already contracts, let's say, that we know how it has to be done and how it has to be joined, and all the requirements required to provide services to another office. That's pretty simple. And since we have been doing this a long time, we became really good. That's part of our advantages right now.
Thank you for explaining that. I can see that the taxes would be an issue for you. Okay, next question we have here for you is, so as you are a global business, how does your company adjust its tangible resources and intangible resources?
So first, the tangible, the resources are we, the people. So that's depends on the project, on the budget of the project. It's more simple to allocate someone depending on what is required. And now with the technology, sometimes it's not like you don't need a person 100% of the time in the office. As in my example, I'm going to to travel to the US in October. I traveled in March because it's a specific period and we need to be there. And the intangible, we have a global network. So whatever someone does, or if they did a investigation, a report, a project that they want to share, it's uploaded in the global and anyone can see it. So that has been a long time ago. I think people are getting more involved right now since it's become more how can I say, more distant, because you're not in the project physically, so you have to upload everything to the cloud. So it's a little bit nicer now. It's more tidy, let's say, but it's everything in the cloud for everyone in the company, of course. I want to clarify that.
I see. Thanks for clarifying that. I can see that the intellectual property is a bit difficult in a way compared to the tangible resources. So thank you for clarifying that again. Okay, and so we have another question for you. So far, has the firm implemented any specific changes after entering the consulting market of Argentina?
Say that again, sorry.
So far, has the firm implemented any specific changes after entering the consulting market of Argentina?
No. Actually, no. We have been doing the same thing over the past 5 years, so nothing changed, just maybe a little bit the way that we handle the taxes, but no impact. Again, 5-6 years and no changes.
So you can say that when you did enter the market, not many changes were required due to already reaching the amount needed to interact with the market.
Yeah, we have everything implemented, so we can work for the US. For the US, we with them and go to the US. That's fine. We don't need anything extra or any change, actually. We use the same computers, same tag for getting into the offices. It's just an authorization maybe for a partner, but no changes.
Well, that is interesting. Thank you for answering that question. Okay, so for the next question, how did the firm adapt to Argentina for better survival?
Survival during the pandemic or in general?
In this case, it will be in general, but also mention about how the pandemic affected your firm as well.
So what we did is we start giving services to the US, to some other countries that require our expertise and have the money to support big projects, since Argentina is not going through a, let's say, nice phase economically. So there's not a lot of investments or projects going on. So to continue growing as a firm, we had to expand our horizons and start working in Colombia, Peru, other countries that had those resources and needed our help. But yeah, it's kind of going from the pandemic, and it's another strategy that, at least from Argentina, we're working is, if we don't have the projects here in Argentina, let's go out and sell ourselves in the rest of the countries, since we have the knowledge and other countries don't have the resources to cover that.
I see. Thank you for explaining on how that works, especially during COVID. Okay. So on the next question, So, how did your company handle the cultural differences in your global business, such as any changes in your code of conduct or code of ethics?
They are doing some seminars, some e-learnings, those kind of things for discrimination, those kind of things, like the usual stuff. Now I think it's more, since we are becoming one with the rest of Latin America, they added a little bit more things, because since let's say a few years ago, we didn't have so much interaction with other countries as we do now. We didn't need it. Now I think many of the other offices already have those kind of learnings in place, so we are just taking them. But what can I say, at least on my experience, is that since the how can I say, the way that we work in Deloitte it's a specific way. We know that we will be working with someone from a different country, so it's just making sure that you don't cross any line, and you're respectful. Is the main issue is like, hey, let's be respectful to one another, and then so we don't cross any lines. Like, depending on the culture, is nice to say a joke, it's not nice, how to say hi to a person, depends on each and everyone. And I said, we are global. I'm working with people from the US, Mexico, Costa Rica, India, England. So each of everyone has different ways of cultural differences, but we're working. So it's not that we are in a bar drinking a beer. It's like, hey, be respectful. We are colleagues.
I see. Thank you for explaining that. So, being respectful does go a long way to ensuring a healthy business relationship with each other. Thank you for giving examples on how you have implemented that on it. So back towards regarding COVID-19. So what opportunities and threats did the business have when that happened, when COVID-19 struck?
So the big advantage that we had is that we were working remotely a long time ago. So our business wasn't impacted so much as the way we worked, and our challenges were more on how we treat the client, how we make sure that the client is okay, to maintain our business. And since with most of the clients, we have a long time relationship, is try to maintain them and make sure that they know that we are with them in this crisis. And one other thing that it was really important for us, for Deloitte, is make sure that all the people are going to continue having a job regardless of the pandemic. So that was a really hard time, because some of the projects were stopped because you needed someone traveling there, someone physically, and they were closed. So it took a lot of time to gain the trust of the client, and the client making sure that they are, or actually the business starting all over again. But the main concern for Deloitte was making sure that the people were still employed and well.
I see that even ensuring all the possible prospects of keeping your workers employed, it still came up a huge issue with you people. But so far, it sounds like you've done a perfectly good job in ensuring that both for your clients and for your government. That's very good. Um, so you mentioned earlier that when COVID-19 struck, if you could not do any projects in Argentina, you would have gone to a different state. Yes. So how did your firm deal with the changes then during COVID-19? Any corresponding global strategies that changed?
Yes, more on again of making sure that the people were okay, they were safe, because if I want to say all of us have a laptop, so and we don't have most of them, maybe the accounting or financial, they have a workstation. I didn't have one. I'm a manager. I don't have an office. I sit down on a big table with all the rest of the team. So it's just I pick up my computer and I went home, and we continue working as the same, and having the connectivity. And since we're working, most of us were working for another country and having meetings, because sometimes you cannot be in the same physical space. So everyone had Teams, had Skype. So we were used to having meetings, online meetings. So in that regard, it wasn't so complex. But I think what Deloitte tried to do in regards of the well-being of the employees is giving them health, how can I say this, like health guidance, so they can reduce the stress, do some work. For example, in Argentina, you have every Friday they send an email to things to do on the weekend. So you don't stay home, or if you stay home, you do something else. It's not just being on the front of the computer. And we started doing some kind of, I did a breakfast, for example, 2 months ago, so we can get together in a not working environment, but still have that kind of group feeling that we cannot have since we were looking at a computer. But it's I think what we had to adjust is how we communicated to the client, and making sure that we knew how to keep track of the people and make sure that they are doing what they have to do, and they are not overworking or stressed or not working at all. Those kind of things are the ones that I think we were more concerned in this pandemic.
Okay. So in other words, you can say besides besides since you already gone online, so there weren't that much change in the workload, but only the main changes that happened was mostly maintaining the health of your workers.
Yeah, and making sure that the day-to-day basis are maintained, like the communication, not leaving a new guy alone because you don't have time. Is make your time and contact him. Make sure that he's engaging into the team. He's making sure that he knows what he's doing. He's not lost. He's not is try to make everyone feel part of the group, not being in a physical group. We have what is called a check-in that is done every month. So we just sit down and, hey, how are you doing? It's kind of a personal, kind of a work relationship. So we need to know how everyone is doing.
Okay. Thank you for elaborating on that. That was very insightful. Thank you again. And finally, how did Deloitte keep its global sustainability?
Same answer. The being online long time before this pandemic hit us, we knew how to work remote. We have a lot of people that since we're global, it's just connecting through a team call, and the only complex thing I think is that you have a lot of calls, but you can manage. When you get the timing, you manage. But yeah, again, the main concern was the health of the resources and maintaining the relationship with the client and make sure that we are not going to lose the client or even the client lose its business because we are not able to give support to them.
Okay, thank you for explaining on that. That's been very insightful. And with that, we have reached our current number of interview questions. However, I would like to bring up if my other colleagues if they have questions on their own. If they do, would they like to speak up?
Yeah, I think I can. Thank you, Amir. Thank you for giving me the chance to ask a question. I've just got just out of curiosity, I've got a question. Like, is there any competitor, like the Aboriginal competitor from the Argentinian market that can compete with the Deloitte in the consulting, in the area of consulting?
Yeah, our main competitor here in Argentina is Accenture. It's not
Accenture?
It's not one of the big fours, but he's really big here in Argentina, and I think they are our main competitors here. In our I want to say, like in a Latin American market, it's one of the biggest competitors in consulting. Maybe in financial, in taxes and finance, Deloitte is bigger or stronger, but in consulting they're really big here in Argentina.
Thank you for letting me know about the Accenture too. And just want to check, you said you are most of the time you are providing the consulting services to the US companies, right? Are you guys, the Deloitte Argentina is also providing the consulting in the Argentina itself?
Yes.
Argentinian companies?
Yeah. Our main focus is Argentina. Okay. So we have to keep the Argentina market good, like a field, if you want to say. But the problem is that we don't have a market right now, or we have a market, but it's slow in comparison to what we have in the US right now or in globally. Because for one of the our clients is one part in the US, one in Canada, and one in Colombia, and we have in Central America also. So since we weren't able to fill our budget or our economic goal in Argentina, we had to go out and find that outside. I would love if we can get into our what we need to earn in Argentina, but nowadays it's not possible.
Okay. So are you also outsourcing your support to any other Argentinian company?
No.
Like any kind of collaboration between the companies in Argentina itself?
Yes, we have collaborations, but it's not like there are different small maybe consulting firms that we do a merge for that specific project, and we both do support. But it's a collaboration in that specific project.
I've just got the last question. I'm sorry. So is I just want to know, like, is Deloitte is any have any like did any time in any time till now? Does Deloitte have got any merger with the large company worldwide, like
No,
to just go with like to support them with the cultural differences or any kind of like to gain the market leader because it's big four, right?
yeah,
So be in the list. Uh, does it ever happen like
no.
they have got merged with any other company?
That I know of, no. What we usually do, if it's more on not on the firm itself, it's maybe the people inside that we care, because they are the ones that have the knowledge. If I have the knowledge, I can do support. I'm big enough to do that. I have I'm being like we are a huge company, so if we have the people that know that specific that specific business, if we have that, we can do the support. But what we try to do is to gain the client itself and not buy or merge with a consultant firm.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thank you for thank you for answering my questions. Is there anyone who'd like to question
Yeah, in my case, I would like to ask you just a couple of questions, if that's possible. Firstly, you said that you have a really diverse culture and you try to always respect cultural differences. And you talked about limits. I'm just curious, how do you get to know those limits? Is there any training? Is there any focus group that you get when you are selected for the company, or is it part of the recruitment process because they expect you to come with that background?
No, it's not expected. It's not training. It's just being. I think the limits, you know it when you know the people and maybe do some research. But since we're so global, it's hard to get like tomorrow I might work with someone from the Philippines. I don't know, and I how can I know that I'm going to work with him? It's so random that it's impossible to train people on how the other is going to react or how the other culture is. What we try to do is not to, as said, like be respectful and not to, I don't know, do things that you think that might be a problem. If you do something that the other culture doesn't like, it's just making sure, hey, I don't like this. This is not the way that we manage, and you learn with that. And then you will communicate to your colleagues, to whatever. Hey, I don't. People in Argentina don't like that, and that. Okay, that's fine. We don't do that. For example, in the US, you don't kiss as we do in Argentina. You shake your hand. So, hey guys, don't do that. Don't go and kiss someone in the cheek, because that's how we work in Argentina and Latin America most. But in the US, it doesn't work that way. So be careful with those kind of things.
Okay, that's okay. Perfect. Thank you so much for answering the question. You took just two more questions. You talked about implementing specific changes before and after entering the consulting market in Argentina. And you said that there were no great impact, but you talked about taxes. And I'm just curious, does the company change their policies with regards to how they implement their market in the US and in Argentina? And are there any government policies that create any impact on the company?
I don't think the US takes so much into account the policies, since everything that we do is straightforward, legal, like nothing. We paid all the taxes, everything. So there's not so so much room for the government to stop us, because our old contracts between firms that are from the same global, different firms, but global. So the only thing that we as Argentina, we have to make sure that when we get the money from the US, we pay all the taxes, but it's just an adjustment that we have to do from the US, from some other country. It doesn't matter if we are exporting our services. It's the same. It's just adjusting to the new regulations, the new taxes, new whatever we have in Argentina. But since again the difference between rates, the change rate that we have for the US, and those kind of things you discuss with the contracting firm as the US here, and you make sure that okay, this is how many dollars I'm going to pay. That's fine, but we have X amount of taxes. Okay, we can manage that. You manage the other ones, so you balance. Since again we are one company, we can talk about that. It's not that we are trying to make the other one win or lose more money.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you so much for your answer. The last question would be, whenever you spoke about formulating the global strategy, you talked about using the global strategy to deploy solutions around your subsidiaries in the world. How is it done? Do you create groups for the moment? Do you create teams or projects? How do you deploy those solutions?
That's per teams. It's a project that have different teams depending on the solution. You have, let's say, SAP implementation. You have different teams for different requirements. You have the SAP one, the human resource one, the PMO one. There are different teams that work in the same project with the same goal, that is doing the implementation of SAP. But for example, the client we have right now, we have 6 different projects going on, 6 different teams all together. But again, same client, same goal, so we have to maintain us aligned. But depending on the country, depending on the client, depending on the project itself, you will have different teams.
And do you create those teams in a diverse way, or you just create, like, for instance, you're in Argentina or you're in the US and all of the team members are from the US?
No, depends on the requirements of the business. Like in the project that I'm working on, we have at least 5 countries working on, and it's in the US. It's whatever we need to get the project going. We need the ideal resource, we will get that. Doesn't matter where it is.
Awesome. That's a great answer. Thank you so much. In my case, I'm done. I don't know if someone else wants to ask any other questions. I think we have a really, really good insight here. This is a great interview. Any other questions, guys?
No, thank you. That was an awesome
It's been a great
interview.
Nice talking to you, Gustav.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So are we done with the
Gustav.
interview? And
I
do I
guess we are done.
have to stop
Yep.
the recording?
I think we can stop the recording. Thank you so much, Gusto. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, all of you. And well, guess this is a really good interview. So thank you so much for your time.
No problem. So let me know if you have any additional questions that I can answer. That's no problem. I might take a little time, but I will answer them.
Thank
That's
you so
okay.
much.
We wish you all the best in your projects.
You too. Good luck with this.
Thank you.
This.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.